Good morning and welcome to the preview of the first 3 days of the Virtual Assistant Starter Pack. Right? It's a 30-day workbook where you get to go through activities one day at a time, right? Or at your pace and do all the things you have to do, put things in place to make sure you do get jobs as a virtual assistant in no time. Okay, so a little disclaimer. By following this 30-day activity workbook, Nigerian virtual assistants can build a strong foundation for their virtual assistant business and increase their chances of getting jobs within the first 30 days. Right? Remember, building a successful virtual assistant business takes time, effort, and dedication, but with the right strategies, it is achievable. So, in a nutshell, it just means if you do put in the work, if you put some things in place, it increases your chances. And really, there's nothing stopping you. Because when you put in your best and you align it and you make sure that everything is right with your portfolio, everything is right with the way you're presenting yourself, some obvious clues and some not so obvious cues that you're supposed to do and take, you're on your way to getting your first job. So day one, set your goals. You have to define your career goals. As a virtual assistant, that's very important because there's so many niches, right? There's so many different kinds of VA jobs online right now. So if you don't have a direction, how do you know where you fall, right? You need to be able to set your goals and know what you're going for, what works best for you. So you need to know the type of work that you're interested in and the industries that you want to work with, right? The industries that you belong with. So let's go ahead and watch the video for day one.
Hello and welcome to this video on how to define your career goals as a virtual assistant. As a VA, it's important to know the type of work you're interested in and the industries you want to belong to. In this video, we'll talk you through the steps to help you define your career goals as a virtual assistant. Step 1. Assess your skills and strengths. Before you can determine the type of work you're interested in, it's essential to identify the skills and strengths that you have. Consider your proficiency in areas such as administrative tasks, communication, organization, time management, and problem solving. Knowing your skills and strengths will help you identify the type of work you're most interested in. Step 2. Identify the type of work you enjoy. Think about the type of work you enjoy doing as a VA. Do you prefer administrative tasks such as managing schedules and emails? Or are you more interested in creative tasks such as social media management or content creation? Understanding the type of work you enjoy can help you identify the industries you want to belong to. Step 3. Research different industries. Research different industries that require virtual assistant services and identify the ones that interest you. Some examples include healthcare, finance, e-commerce, and technology. By doing your research, you'll get a better understanding of the industries that are the right fit for you. Step 4. Consider your personal values. When identifying the industries you want to work in, consider your personal values. Do you want to work in an industry that aligns with your values and beliefs? For example, if you're passionate about sustainability, you may want to work with companies in the environmental or renewable energy industry. Considering your personal values will help you find fulfillment in your career. Step 5. Get SMART career goals. Once you have identified the type of work you're interested in and the industries you want to belong to, it's time to set SMART career goals. Your career goals should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. For example, your goal could be to secure a virtual assistant role in the healthcare industry within the next 6 months. To conclude, defining your career goals as a virtual assistant involves identifying the type of work you're interested in and the industries you want to belong to. By assessing your skills and strengths, identifying the type of work you enjoy, researching different industries, considering your personal values, and setting smart career goals, you'll be on your way to achieving success as a BA. Thank you for watching.
So now, really to speak more on that, there's so many different things to mention. For instance, when you're looking for a job, right, you need to know most virtual assistants, right? There's some people that actually just prefer to work remotely. If you prefer to work remotely, you're probably such that you have other things you need to attend to, right? Or you're just a bit introverted and you just want to do your work without having to mingle and you know the usual 9 to 5 race. So definitely there are attributes that set into play. So what are the attributes that define? You have to look further to know, for instance, okay, I prefer a job where I just make calls, right? Because I'm such a person that loves to talk over the phone. That means you're looking out for calls or work in the customer care niche, right? You could be someone that loves to write and you're interested in writing. It could be a business proposal, it could be something less formal, right? So it means you're looking for jobs in the writing niche. So your interests, what you're about, who you are, all of these things play into the kind of jobs that you should be looking out for. Now let's move on to day two. Identify your skills. You need to make a list of all the skills you possess that are relevant to virtual assistant work, right? What do I mean? You need to sit down, have a pen and paper if you have to, or be in front of your laptop, or open up a note in your phone and quickly highlight. I can write and type, I can proofread documents, I can edit, right? These are skills. I can manage, an event. I can set up a meeting. I can write very well. I know graphics design. I'm able to solve problems by, consultation, right? So you can map out all of these skills that you have because it will help. Let's read more for day two. So here's a list of the most common virtual assistant skills. You have communication skills. These speak to your verbal and written skills. As a virtual assistant, effective verbal and written communication skills are essential for success in the role. Here's how these skills may manifest. Clear and articulate speech. In terms of verbal communication, you should be able to be clear and articulate. The virtual assistant should be able to speak clearly and articulately so that the client can understand what is being said. This includes enunciating words and speaking at an appropriate volume and pace. A lot of the meetings you're going to be having with your employer is going to be over the phone, right? You have to know to speak up. You have to know to speak with confidence, knowing what you're offering. And if there happens to be that you have a question or something, you should still ask that question with confidence because you're only building up enough material, enough information, enough resource to be able to do your work well, right? So please, you should know to speak up. You have to also be an active listener. You should be able to listen attentively to what the client is saying. Ask relevant questions to clarify or fix up any confusion or misunderstandings that you may have. Then you should have empathy, right? You should be able to show empathy towards the client, acknowledging their feelings and concerns and respond appropriately. Now, this does not mean you're taking interest in their personal life, right? But you're showing empathy because that person wants to achieve a goal. You're also showing empathy in such a way that you want them to hit the mark. You want them to achieve the goal that they need to. Okay, so this is where your empathy comes in. You have to be able to own the project like it's yours, right? Even if not like it's yours, in such a way that you can put yourself in the client's shoes, knowing that they need the task done, the assigned task done, pardon me, the assigned task done, and then you do it well. That's empathy in play. Okay, for your written communication skills, you need to have good grammar and spelling skills, right? You have to have excellent grammar. You to ensure that you're communicating effectively when you write, when you send a message, right? You also have to have clarity and concision. You should be clear and precise with what you're saying. What you're saying should mean exactly what you want it to mean, because communication is important in this line of work. They're not seeing you face to face. So you're only left to your voice, you're left to your written communication, right? It's a different thing when the person is in the same room with you. So it's why you have to be very specific when you have to know what you're saying and say it well. Then your tone and voice is also important. You should match your writing style, right? And then make sure it's preferred, it matches also your client's preferred tone. Some clients are friendly, so from the get they don't want someone that is stuck up, and you can pick that up from the way they communicate with you. Doesn't mean that you can go overboard, right? But then you should be able to know that okay, you can put your guards down and respond freely. At the same time, some clients just want to get straight to business. They are very formal in their language. They are very, their communication is very formal. That's the word. So you should also know in such a situation to respond in formal language. So overall, a virtual assistant who possesses strong verbal and written communication skills will be a better equipped VA to provide effective and efficient support to their clients. You also need to have time management skills. This is very important, right? Because as a VA, you're responsible for juggling multiple tasks and deadlines on behalf of your clients. Here are some key elements of effective time management for virtual assistants. Prioritizing tasks. You need to be able to prioritize your tasks. For me, I have a notepad that I use to itemize the things that I ought to do, right, on a daily basis. I indicate which tasks are priority. So I start with those and then I move on down the chain to make sure that I meet up with the target for the day in good time. Okay, so setting up goals. As a VA, you should have achievable goals set, right? You should be able to also establish a timeline for completing each task, just like I mentioned above. Create a schedule, right? That's important. Create a schedule. You need to know what works for you. Are you able to work daily? Do you prefer to work a few days in a week? What kind of jobs have you got? Right? So if you're looking out for jobs, for instance, and you know that you'd prefer to work only 2 times a week, definitely you shouldn't be looking at a role that requires you to be managing something on a daily basis. So it could be a one of those one-off projects, or something that maybe graphic design, and then you set up your timeline for when you want to submit the designs, right? So there's a just find a schedule that works for you and allows you to be able to be flexible and address any unexpected issues that may arise. Then you have to stay organized. You should be able to keep track of multiple tasks. For instance, for me, I have a folder. It's called All Things Mo. In that folder, I have tons of other folders that are neatly organized. So I know when I need to, sort a file for my personal work. I know when I also have labels for clients' works, which is kept confidential. I have the different files under those folders for each client's work in case I need to refer to something in the future, right? So this is how I track and manage the work that I do. And sometimes you may need the use of other apps, right? Like a project management software, right? Or a to-do list. You could also use a calendar, right? So all of these things are things that you can set in place to make sure that you're organized in the work, not just for the way you present your work to your client, but also for how you manage the work that you do as a virtual assistant. Now, delegating tasks. When appropriate, virtual assistants should be able to delegate tasks to other members of the team or outside contractors to free up their own time for more high priority tasks, right? So this happens a lot. Sometimes you have a task that is more of a managerial position as a virtual assistant where you need to manage someone else. Okay, so you should know when it's important to delegate a part of your task, get someone to do it, either arrange for payment for that person or find or set up a payment plan that allows your employer to pay you enough to be able to, so that you can be able to pay someone else to handle some other tasks, so you can focus on the high priority tasks. So managing distractions, oh my God, working at home, you know that you have people around you. For some they don't, for some they do. But if you do have people around you, even if you don't have people around you, there's the television, you have your phone. Overall, a strong time management skill enables virtual assistants to work effectively and efficiently to deliver high quality support to their clients within the agreed upon time frame. Organization skills are also very important, and this refers to your ability to efficiently manage and prioritize tasks, information, and communication within a remote work environment. So, this includes your ability to manage time efficiently, right? That means you're able to take note of the deadlines for certain assigned tasks and work in good time to make sure you submit um, you know, before the deadline. So to do this, you're able to set reminders for yourself, prioritize your tasks, and work in line to make sure that you deliver your task not just well, but you deliver on time. Okay. For task management, a virtual assistant needs to be able to manage multiple tasks simultaneously, right? So this means you're able to do so many things, you're juggling it, and you're still trying to meet up with targets. So you can imagine, if you don't know how to manage your tasks efficiently, your organization skills also come into place here. You're able to label your folders right, you're able to order your events, order your tasks in such a way that one thing is not suffering, that the deadline is close. So anything with a closer deadline, you pay priority to it, or anything that needs to be done to achieve, something else, you just align it in such a way that you have thought out the work to be done, you have analyzed the workload that you have, and you break it down in such a way that allows you to submit your work in time. Okay. So for information management, you should be able to efficiently manage information and store your information. So this includes your client details, the project information, and documents. Most of these will be stored, should be treated as confidential, right? So you should store it in such a way that it can't just be run across by anybody. Because as a virtual assistant, you're being entrusted. You're an extension of the firm. You're an extension of your client. So you are to keep the client's information as safe as possible. Right? So in doing all of this, you have to be organized. You have to know how to keep and where to keep in such a way that when you need to call up some of this information, it's easy to do. right? So you may need to use some tools such as cloud-based storage, right? Because I use Google. You could use project management software, databases, whatever works best for you. Okay, communication management is also very important. You need to be able to communicate effectively. If you need to send an email, make phone calls, use messaging platforms. In Nigeria, we use WhatsApp, we use a lot of others like Telegram, where you want to send, some heavy documents, for instance, or you want to send something and you want to maintain the quality, right? And these apps keep changing. Stay updated with which will serve you best in terms of communication management. Okay, problem solving skills. Yes, this is necessary, of course. This is like the one thing that a virtual assistant is known for. You're trying to solve a problem for your client. So how you do that is very important to your success as a VA. It requires you to be able to think critically, communicate effectively, and implement effective solutions, right? So you're supposed to be helping your client sort something that they probably do not have the time to do, they don't have the resource to do, or they do not have the ability to do. So you're using your time, you're using your resource, you're using your ability to solve a problem. Pardon me. Okay, so that's why problem solving skill is very important to have. You also have to be able to pay attention to detail. This means you're able to carefully and thoroughly review and understand all the information and instructions provided by the client. This is where I advise people, right? Ask questions, especially at the beginning. At the beginning, it doesn't mean that, okay, you just ask any and absolutely anything, right? It doesn't mean you should just ask absolutely anything just because you want to ask. But you do know that your aim, your goal is to achieve the best solution for the work that you've been given for that task. So usually, the more information you have, the more precise you can be in your submission. So asking questions is very relevant. You need to be able to pay attention to detail, understand what is said and what is not said. And where you're making an assumption, you confirm with your client. That's my best advice, to be honest, because it is one key thing that shapes the future of your work as a virtual assistant. It is one key thing that determines if your employer will come again to employ you for another task or ask you for another task, because of how well you were able to deliver on the first. So take note of this. That's also very important. You should understand your client's preferences. You need to pay attention to the client's specific requirements, preferences, and expectations, and ensure that your work aligns with them. Okay, double check your work. A virtual assistant must review their work before submitting. Very important. Checking for errors or mistakes that could impact the quality of the work, because of course your VA is synonymous to quality. You need to begin to see it that way, that when you're putting in work, your objective is not just to let me just do it and submit and then get paid, right? Because of course you get paid. Your employer will pay you, but how often will you get paid? The rate of retention with your clients depends on the quality of work you constantly deliver. So it should be priority that you check your work, check the quality of your work to make sure that every time what you submit speaks to good quality. Okay, double check your work, keep track of your deadlines. We had mentioned this. Maintain accurate records. Yes, we have touched on this. Okay. Overall, attention to detail is critical for a virtual assistant to provide high quality work and build trust with their clients. Okay, your problem solving skills. We talked about this is very important to be able to, analyze the problem and develop a plan to address the task in question. You should also be able to implement solutions pardon me, please. You should be able to implement solutions efficiently. okay, while communicating your progress and giving updates to your clients. You should also evaluate the results. After the solution has been implemented, a virtual assistant must evaluate its effectiveness and make adjustments as needed to ensure that the problem has been fully resolved. So when you do when your work is done, evaluate the work that was done. See the extent to which it solves the problem with which you were presented. Okay, a VA should also be able to multitask. As a virtual assistant, multitasking skills are essential to ensure that you can handle, pardon the noise in the background, please. As a virtual assistant, multitasking skills are essential to ensure that you can handle multiple tasks efficiently and effectively. So here are some key aspects of multitasking that you should take note of. You should be able to prioritize your tasks, right? You should be able to manage your time efficiently. You should be able to pay attention to detail, have a flexible and adaptable work environment, work pace, work ethic. You need to be able to adjust your priorities and work on new tasks at short notice without becoming overwhelmed. Very important. Very, very important. You need to know when not to even take on more jobs so that you're able to deliver on quality on the jobs that you do have, which is a common mistake. Most virtual assistants, once they get that goal, because it gets to a point where you start seeking for jobs, you get to a point where you now have you're on a level playing field now. You're able to get more jobs with ease because once you cross the hurdles of that beginning, putting yourself together, it gets easier. So it can be tempting when you get an offer. Despite the work that you're doing, probably you're working for one or two employers, and depends on the nature of the work, you may be tempted to take on more sometimes. You need to be able to evaluate and know when is a good time to take on more work so that you don't compromise on the quality of work that you're letting out. Also, communication skills, as we have earlier mentioned. Customer service skills. Remember that even if you're not in the customer service niche, your client is your customer. So every VA should have customer service skills. How do you talk to your client? How do you manage your client? How do you get the best information out of your client? How do you listen? How do you work with empathy for the task that they want to achieve, right? How do you communicate clearly? How do you make sure the communication is effective? How do you ensure that you're indeed solving their problems? Okay, so these, alongside with your ability to deliver your work professionally, professionalism is key as a virtual assistant. It is key in the VA industry. You should be able to maintain a professional demeanor at all times, whether you're communicating with clients or colleagues. You should be courteous, respectful, and maintain high ethical standards. Okay, then your research abilities. Research skills are essential for virtual assistants to gather information, to analyze data, and provide insight to clients. And these are some of the important key things to take note of under this. You should be able to gather information. As a VA, you should be able to find relevant and reliable information from a variety of sources.